Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I hope your 2021 has started out okay. So this is the first video for the new year. The last one doesn't count because I actually made it before the new year, and I released it before the new year, but most of you probably all watched it after the ball dropped. So there you go. But we're back in VR, and we're going to be doing some flying around Alaska tonight. But before I get to that, just want to remind you that this particular video, as well as the last video, are being done through native VR that is now included in Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, in order to present the video, what I'm having to do is I'm using the Oculus Mirror, since of course I'm using an Oculus Rift S, and through the Oculus Mirror, I am recording it with OBS. Now, I noticed in the last video that there was a little bit of an issue with that, where the resulting video actually appears to be a little more, I guess, stuttery or choppy is the right word, than it actually appears inside the sim. I do want to assure you that inside the sim, VR is working quite well. However, bringing you the video seems to be an issue, and I'm not quite sure at the moment whether or not that's something that Microsoft and Asobo can address, or if I have to wait for Oculus to give me an update to their beta test channel, which is what I'm currently using in Oculus Mirror, and I highly recommend that you update your Oculus Home to the beta test channel. If you're also using an Oculus product, it will be a lot easier. But suffice to say, I'm still going to go ahead because, you know, as they say, the show must go on. And that's something that I firmly believe. Okay, so before we actually get to the flight plan, that brings me to my next point. I have noticed a lot of new users to VR, in particular with Microsoft Flight Simulator. First and foremost, I'm not going to give you a whole hell of a lot of hints, tips, tricks, so on and so forth, because there are other channels that specialize in that. The links, of course, will be popping up in the video description below, as well as at the bottom of your screen right about now for some of the channels that I recommend, most notably Steve's, Jose's, and Bam, aka Charles. Their channels are very good when it comes to gleaning information on what you can do to help optimize your VR experience. But I do want to share one little tip with you that I think will go a long way to dispelling a lot of the problems that I'm seeing. Some people have been reporting that their VR is just not up to snuff. The quality is really not there. So I'm hearing. The reason for that is what I'm highlighting right now. You'll see here in the graphics settings, it says PC. Not sure if you're aware, but there are actually two sets of graphics settings. The one that says PC affects everything that's on your monitor. However, on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, if you click this little arrow, it switches over to VR. By default, your VR settings are set to be considerably lower than whatever your monitor settings is. And I think the reason why they did that is to make sure that you're not basically overtaxing your VR headset. So keep that in mind. If you're noticing that things are blurry, if you're noticing that the quality just isn't there, you will want to switch this over to VR and make your adjustments to all your graphics settings there. Now, I'm not going to give you like all the various details as to what you should have everything set to, but if you want to, you can pause the video right now and you can see the settings that I currently have set up. If that'll help you, that's all fine and well. Otherwise, refer to those channels that I referred you to before. All right, let's discard that since I'm not making any changes, and we're going to go back to the world map. Okay, so now we get to the meat and potatoes. So tonight we're going to be flying this baby right here. This is the Zenith Aircraft Company CH701 STOL. This aircraft is brought to us by SimWorks Studios. So we can see it here in the aircraft selection. SimWorks Studios has made a number of fine products for FSX and P3D. Some of their most famous would be the F4 Phantom for FSX and P3D, as well as their carrier extended. I forget the exact name for it, but suffice to say it adds carrier ops to those particular sims. And I believe they're supposed to be working on that for MSFS. However, that has not yet come into being. But I really can't wait to see when that happens. So what about the Zenith? All right, well, the Zenith, of course, is a light aircraft. And as you can see, it is very quirky looking. You get a number of liveries with it. And the major difference that you need to note is some of these have no doors. And you have the exact same thing that does have doors. We're going to be using the green one that has doors. Reason will become apparent in a moment. Well, I'll tell you right now, because I just love that livery. Pretty much, that's it. I just love that livery. So that's the one that we're going to be using. Of course, you can set your weight and balance, the amount of gas, the cargo, and so on that you've got on board. You can see we don't have a whole heck of a lot in the back, but we do have our pilot and co-pilot, which of course means I will be flying with Kara, my female co-pilot. Center of gravity, not quite sure what the story is on that. I've noticed that some third-party planes do have that. I don't know if that's something that the developer needs to address or something that Microsoft needs to address, but it is what it is, and suffice to say, it does not adversely affect the aircraft in flight, so we won't worry about it. All right, now let's zoom into Mother Earth here, and we're going to check out where we're going to fly. Now remember, it's the middle of winter. And in case you missed it, Microsoft and Asobo introduced winter weather to this sim. So basically what that means is we're going to be seeing a whole lot of snow on the ground. Now I do have it set to a custom weather preset instead of going with live weather, because the live weather in Alaska right now, it's a little cloudy. There's not a whole heck of a lot to see. So I figured I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more picturesque. And this is what we've got right here. So we've got the broken clouds, and we're actually going to set our time back. You'll notice in the lower left corner, I'm currently sliding the time. And we're going to set it up for sometime in mid-morning. So roughly around, I don't know, 10:20. Yeah, 10:22 will be fine. Now, since it is winter in Alaska, if you know anything about your geography, you will also know that it's not going to get very bright during the day. But this particular time of day should be rather beautiful. We should have a pretty incredible sunrise. And even though the sun is definitely not going to reach its peak, as it were, it's still going to kind of look like evening for the entire time. So just be forewarned. But overall, I think it should have a very beautiful effect on the sim. So for our flight, we're actually going to be using 5 airports from Emerald Scenery Design. I want to stress that these airports are all free, but they are all considered quote unquote light. The reason for that, they do have the airports fully fleshed out, and I've actually verified it with a friend of mine who lives in Talkeetna. She mentioned that everything pretty much looks as it should up there. But in addition to that, there's also certain landmarks that Emerald Scenery Designs has also included for each of these airports. So you can see our flight path up the top here. We're going to start out at Talkeetna Airport, which is Papa Alpha Tango Kilo. We're going to be heading north to a little airstrip known as Snowflake Lake. And as the name might imply, it is pretty close to a lake. We're going to see if we can do a touch and go there. And then we're going to turn southwest and head over to Range View Airstrip. Now, Range View Airstrip is pretty much like a grass strip. Actually, I think it's more of a concrete strip that just happens to have like grass and so on around it. Suffice to say, it is perfect for an aircraft such as this. So we're going to land at Range View, and then we're going to take off and continue heading southwest to Davidson Strip. Davidson is interesting because it is completely surrounded by a lake on 3 sides. So yeah, coming into land on that is really going to test our STOL ability. And once we're finished at Davidson Strip, we're going to take off and we are going to land at our final destination, which is Montana Creek. So, as you can see, we're really not traveling that far. It's a pretty short hop, but considering the fact that we've got to start up the aircraft and so on and so forth, it may take us close to an hour to actually complete this route. So, with that having been said, let's go ahead and hop into the cockpit. We'll get this bird started, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the Zenith aircraft here. And we'll go flying around the bush country of Alaska. Okay, folks, welcome to Talkeetna, Alaska, where the temperature is a balmy minus 18 degrees. Phew! Yeah, I don't know about you, Kara, but I'm thinking we're slightly underdressed for all of this. All right, so this is the Zenith, and as you can see, it's got a 3-bladed prop in the front. The stats on the engine should be popping up right about now, but as you can also see, it is a pretty unique design. I've seen these on YouTube flying into like Oshkosh, and I'm actually subscribed to the Zenith Aircraft Company on YouTube, so I often get videos of them flying this thing around. I've never actually flown one, of course, so I have no idea just how well SimWorks Studios modeled this thing, but suffice to say, we're about to find out just how well it works in Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right, so it is an experimental aircraft, and as you can see, it's pretty bare bones. Let's take a look at the gauges there. It's not a lot to this aircraft, but then you kind of want that when you're doing a lot of bush flying. You especially also want those big old fat tires down there, too. That comes in handy. All right, so let's see if we can get everything started. I think the first thing that I want to do, though, is you'll notice this little lever there. That's actually our flaps, so I don't know if they'll go up. Oh, yeah, it looks like they will. All right, so we'll raise the flaps, and we'll also want to get our parking brakes on, so let me just hit that. Okay. And let's see if we can get everything started here. Now, just as a reminder, because there is a little bit of offset between the mouse cursor position and the left and right eye, it's going to look kind of weird when I'm hitting stuff. You're going to think that I'm actually hitting in a spot that I am not. And that's only because of the way that everything is currently set up. All right, but we want to set our fuel tanks to both tanks. And let me get our throttle down here. All right, so there we go. Throttle is on idle. And let's start flipping some switches here. This is something that I know that SimWorks Studios is working on. I believe Microsoft and Asobo also need to pay attention to it because the way that the mouse interacts with the cockpit itself is a little bit odd in third-party aircraft. In the default aircraft, of course, everything's fine, but kind of expected that because after all, it is Microsoft's sim. But yeah, clearly some more work needs to be done as far as third-party integration, just to make sure that it has the same smoothness with the mouse button and you're not like hopping all over the screen as you're seeing right now. All right, pretty much everything's on that needs to be on. So we've got our nav lights on, instrument panel lights. We've got our master switch, of course. As you can see, everything's up and running there. And we've got our radios on. So that means we can also set this to standby. That's our transponder, of course. And we're currently squawking 7,000. I don't think we want to do that in Alaska. I mean, Alaska, last time I checked, is a state. So we should be squawking 1,200. There we go. All right, so we'll hold it there for the moment. We're just about ready for an engine start. There's really not much to this aircraft that we need to concern ourselves with. So let me just make sure everything looks good there. It certainly does. So we'll go ahead and get our magnetos on. See, this is what's going to annoy me, is just trying to hit those little spots. All right, dude, I hope you're out of the way. Clear prop.
Papa Alpha Tango Kilo traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo taking off runway 1 departure to the north.
All right, thank you, Miss Kara. And it looks like everything is good to go, so we're just going to wait a little bit to see if the temperature comes up. You can already see we've got good pressure. We just need to get that oil temp up a little bit. I'm not very well versed with this aircraft, so there's not a whole heck of a lot that I can really tell you about this, but any pertinent facts about it I will have popping up just below. You know how I always do those little pop-up comments, so you can feel free to read those as you would like. In the meantime, let me go outside and take a quick look at this bird in the static external camera views, and then we'll hop back in and start flying. All right, looks like our bird is warmed up a little bit, so we should be good to go. So Kara cleared us to taxi to runway 1, which, as you can see by the sign over there, is the runway that's going to be heading off in that direction. So that's where we want to be, heading north, according to the little compass there. All right, dude, you're going to want to get out of my way here, so let me kill the parking brakes, and we're just going to kind of turn a little bit to the right. And our taxiway is right there, so everything is pretty much in close proximity at this airport. So it shouldn't really take us a long time to get there, especially since this thing tends to taxi fast. So we're going to have to ride the brakes for the most part here, just to make sure that we're not going out of control. As you can see, it is a beautiful morning, and this is exactly why I set up custom weather this time around. Look at that. Even though it's not going to get much brighter than that, you got to admit, that is pretty awesome looking. All right, it's going to take us a hot minute to get over to runway 1, so let's go to the outside view really quick, and we'll come back in when we are holding short. All right, so we are at runway 1, and this is a very long runway, so we probably won't even need flaps for takeoff on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the flaps up. I am, however, going to get our landing lights on, provided, of course, I can hit it right the first time. And we'll get our strobes on as well. There we go. And we should also get our fuel pump on, just in case. So there we go. All switches are now on. Everything looks good on the engine gauges. Forgot to set my altimeter, so let me do that really quick here. There we go. Wow. Okay, well that is set. And finally, we'll get our transponder set to out. So there we go. All right, Kara, you know what to do after we take off. Contact the ATC and get us flight following. We should be good to go. Let's go ahead and get our parking brakes off, and we'll take the active. Now, even though I do have AI traffic and player traffic set to both on, there's not a whole heck of a lot flying around here in Alaska. But then that's kind of the purpose of this video, is to show you the freeware scenery so that you might want to pick it up yourself and join me flying around in bush country. All right, but let's go ahead and take off. Need a little bit of rudder there. We're kind of turning to the left. Bring her up to about 60, and there we go. Nice, quick, and easy. A heck of a lot better than our experience in the Caribbean, huh? All right, I'm gonna trim us up just a touch here. We're really not gonna need to go much higher than about 1,000 feet. As you can see, we're already at 500. But yeah, so far everything is looking pretty good. We'll just continue heading north here. We'll need to turn a little bit to the left. Go right about there should be good, and we'll bring it up to about 1,000. Now, if I were using live weather, all of these lakes that you're looking at would be completely frozen over. But as I discovered when I was doing my flight test for this video, that's a bad thing. I'll wait until Kara's done here. Okay, thank you very much, Kara. So we are at 29.902, and we're still heading to the north, roughly speaking. And we should be heading to our first airport. But yeah, as I started to say, when you have this thing set to live weather, because of the fact that Microsoft and Asobo has currently put snow and ice in there, all of your lakes are going to be totally frozen over, which is a bad thing if you're trying to land on water. I don't recommend that you do that, especially in an aircraft such as this. Maybe a seaplane can pull it off, but it will register as a crash if you try to do that. Found that one out the hard way. But since I have custom weather set up, our lakes are not totally frozen over, and I think that actually adds to the beauty of the scene that we're witnessing right now. All right, so we should be getting pretty close to Alpha Kilo 64. You can see it's directly up ahead. We're looking for Snowflake Lake, so let's go back to the outside view, and once we see it, we'll figure out how we're gonna come in and do this touch and go. Okay, so you can see the lake directly up ahead there. That is, of course, Snowflake Lake. So we need to start looking out for our airport. I'm actually going to pull the power back just a touch here, because we are going relatively fast, almost 100 miles per hour there. I believe the airstrip should be off to the side. And actually, what I'm going to show you as we're making our way to the airstrip, I'm actually going to flash some of the official screenshots from Emerald Scenery Design so you can see what this airstrip looks like by default. So that should be popping up on your screen right now. And that should pretty much give you a good idea of what this area looks like once you download it. Now, as you can see, it is winter. So there's the lake right there, and I want to say that that little straight area there is going to be our runway. It really doesn't look like much, but we should be able to pull off a touch and go, I believe. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slow us down here a little. And we're going to drop flaps 1. See if we can manage to land there and then take off before we run out of empty space. Yeah, this could get interesting. All right, flaps 1. Make sure our flaps are going down. Looks like they are. Okay, good deal, good deal. All right, so there's the rest of the runway. So we're going to need to go down a little bit further. Keep it right around 80 miles per hour, thereabouts. And I think now is probably a good time for a turn, so we'll give it a little bit of throttle, just to make sure we're not falling out of the sky. And we'll whip her around. Okay, well, we kind of overshot that, but we should still be able to pull off a decent touch and go. Let me just make sure that we are not going to hit the trees here. That was a close one. And we'll bring her down, chop all power. This is a grass strip, of course. And whoa, we are heading off to the left. I do not like that. Let's go airborne. All right, well, that's as good of a touch and go as we are gonna get, so you know what, I will take it. I will absolutely take it. But there you go again. You can see the lake and some of the buildings that Emerald Scenery Design has put in the area. All right, let's head back to our flight plan. Thankfully this thing comes with a GPS, so we can easily see where we're going. And then we're gonna head to our next destination. Now, I am not 100% certain if this thing has an autopilot. I want to say it probably does not. So this is one of those aircraft that you're pretty much going to have to trim, and hopefully everything will stay put. As you can see, I am out of trim currently. We're still rising, but that is fine. I want to get us up to about 1,000, and then we'll pull the power back just a bit. We are heading in the right direction, though, so that works for me. And we'll keep it right around 1,000 feet. Okay, so let's go to the outside view. And since I am currently using this by hand, you know, stick and rudder flying instead of using the autopilot, I'm going to forego the drone camera because there's a catch with the drone camera. When you're using it, you lose all active control of the aircraft. So we'll go to the regular outside view and check it out. I don't care how you slice it, folks. That is absolutely beautiful. Now I know what they mean when they talk about God's country. This is just awesome looking. All right, we are slightly off course here, but you can see we're heading in the general direction of our next stop, which is range view, or 0 Alpha Alpha 5. We're going to need to make a right here really quick. And let me see if I can actually identify that airport. So we're just going to point directly towards it. This is beautiful. The combination of default scenery, such as it is, with everything that Emerald Scenery Design has done is absolutely flawless, how everything just blends together. It really is a sight to behold. Of course, there are still some minor issues as far as Microsoft Flight Simulator goes. You'll notice every now and then the trees will pop in and pop out and that sort of thing. But it's forgivable when you think about the fact that without something like that happening, you do run the risk of basically overtaxing your PC, and especially if you're in VR. That's not necessarily something that you want to have a really good VR experience. All right, I want to say our airport should be directly ahead there, so I'm going to pull the power down and we're going to come down a bit, because as you can see, we're just shy of 2,000 feet. I'll have to evaluate just how long this runway is to determine just what flap setting we're going to need to use to come in. I want to say we might be able to get away with just flaps 1, but obviously I don't know yet until we are actually at the airport. So let me just kind of fly around here in a loose S shape and see if I can locate the airstrip. I think that may be it up ahead. If we want to, we can actually increase or decrease our GPS. So let me see if that will work. Yeah, kind of, sort of. But you know what? I think I can live with it. All right, so we know our airport's around here somewhere. See some houses there. Come on, baby. Come on. Maybe if we go to the outside view, we might get a better look at it. I really don't think that is the airstrip. I think that's actually roads there. So yeah, that could be interesting to try and locate. Is that it? I think that is it. Yep, I think this is it right here. Okay, so just like before, we're going to come in towards the north. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that is it. I can barely see the traffic cones that outline the runway itself, but I'm pretty sure this is where we need to come down. So just like before, we're going to do another touch and go here. In fact, that may be the recurring theme for this video, is basically just doing touch and goes, because honestly, I'm not so sure that I want to land and then slow down and taxi to the opposite end of the runway and then take off again. It's just going to take way too much time. And my videos are long enough as it is. All right, I believe we overshot the last time, so let's do more of a teardrop approach here. I'm actually going to drop flaps 1, so there we go. Flaps coming up. Nose is coming up slightly. Okay, there we go. All right, so let us begin our teardrop approach. We'll give it a little bit of power. We'll throw in a little bit of rudder. And hopefully we'll line it up a little better this time. Let's go back to the outside view for that and see how we do. All right, folks, I'm going to run on the assumption that this is our runway right here. So once again, we're going to bring her in. We'll pull the power back somewhat. Trim ourselves up to compensate. Nose is just dipping through the deck there. I see a fence. That's a good sign, right? So there's a fence, there's a runway. Let's watch out for that tree, though. Holy crap. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a touch and go. All right, there's the traffic cones that I was looking for. And let's bring her in. Okay, we're down and we're gonna be up. Hey, look at that. Is that sheep? I'm not sure if that was sheep or goat or what those were, but there was some kind of animal over there. And I've heard that he's also got some bears around here too, but I didn't see any of those. Probably a good idea. Yogi doesn't need to go airborne today. All right, but there you go. Another successful touch and go, and we're just going to whip her around this way. So the other thing that I love about this aircraft is a great visibility. You can see through the top there. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of curious about those animals. I don't think they'll show up this high up, but yeah, there's a car down there at least. Yeah, I can't see them. They're not spawning in, but all right. Not a problem. We're going to continue heading this way, and our next stop is going to be 45 Alpha Alpha, which should be popping up on your screen right now. That's what the airport looks like normally. And of course, bear in mind that being winter, it's not going to look like that in this particular video. So pretty cool stuff. All right, so far, we are having a very good flight. I'm quite enjoying this. Did I get the flaps up? Yes, I did. Okay, good deal. Let's go back to the outside view a little bit and check things out. So you can see the sun is a little bit higher, and this is definitely getting a little bit brighter, so that works. I would definitely hate to fly here at night, however. I would probably be scared out of my wits when it comes to trying to land on any of these airstrips in the dead of night. Of course, they don't recommend you do that anyway, so that's not something that we're going to need to worry about at this time. We are, however, looking for Davidson, and why did I just lose power there? That's kind of odd. My switch is on. Yeah, everything appears to be on. I don't know what's going on there. Must have blown a fuse. Well, that's going to make this a little bit more challenging because, as I said before, the show must go on. Yeah, it looks like everything's dead. Engine's still on though, so I'm okay with that. Yeah, throttle still works. Huh. Interesting. Wonder if I blew a fuse. All the fuses appear to be in, and I don't think you can actually activate any of these fuses either. Or maybe you can. Yeah, I don't see that. Yeah, you can actually activate fuses. I just don't know why I'm running into an issue there. That's curious. Okay, well, maybe I needed to have checked the manual on that one, but for all intents and purposes, we are flying somewhat dark. Let me kill my radio switch and turn it back on here. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. So I don't have any idea as to how close we are to the airport. I know we should be in the general vicinity, but I'm not finding it there. So actually, you know what? What you should do in a situation like this is you need to get back down to the deck. So that means we're going to need to abort our mission for now. We're going to have to head back to Talkeetna. which I think we should still be able to see Talkeetna because there is a beacon there, so we just need to look for the green and white beacon, and that'll help us out. And as long as this engine is still active, then I'm assuming that we've still got power and we're still airworthy. It's just that nothing else is popping up. I thought you checked this thing out. Didn't you check the maintenance logs? So hard to find good help these days. All right, but we do see our beacon over there, so we are definitely going to head back to Talkeetna. And my apologies to you. I obviously did not expect for this to happen. I was just hoping to go through the journey, and that would have been the end of that. But it appears that Microsoft Flight Simulator has other plans for me. And just so you're aware, I usually keep all of my failures set to off, so that way they shouldn't hinder anything that's going on in the aircraft. So I really have no clue right now what's going on. But we're going to follow procedures here. I'm going to head back to Talkeetna. And actually, yeah, we can't even contact Talkeetna to tell them that we're coming in. We can't contact ATC, Anchorage ATC, to let them know that we've got an emergency situation here. So hopefully they will kind of get the hint when they see us heading in the wrong direction here. They do have our flight plan, so they know where we should be going. And I guess once we get down, we'll call in maintenance and see if we can figure out what's going on with our aircraft. Now, just so you know, I'm not necessarily saying that this is something wrong with this particular aircraft. As far as I'm aware, this thing has worked. I've flown it a number of places and I've never had this issue happen. I just don't know why this issue is happening right now. So take it with a grain of salt. The aircraft itself is still really good, and it's given me a lot of fun in the last few weeks that I have been flying it. But just because we are on camera right now, you know, the gremlins decide they're going to act up, and as a result, here I go, trying to compensate with it. All right, but we're just going to keep heading on to the beacon, and we're going to go to the outside view for a little bit as we make our way back to Talkeetna. All right, well, all things considered, I'm glad that we at least still have our engine, even though everything else is pretty much deader than a doornail, and for some strange reason our oil pressure seems to be kind of high. At least we're still in the sky, so I'm okay with that. We are getting closer to Talkeetna, however, bearing in mind that the only thing I've got to help me with navigation is just this little compass right here. And of course, our trusty analog gauges. Yeah. So this is what happens when something unexpected happens. It would figure, huh? It would figure. As soon as the cameras go live, all heck breaks loose. But you know, it wouldn't be a BelGeode video if something didn't go crazy. So there we go. So my apologies to you that I will not be able to show you the other airports, but I will do what I did before and show you pictures of said airports and remind you that they are completely free of charge, so you can go ahead and download them. You can take this aircraft or any other aircraft that you have that's certified for bush flying, and you can fly around the area yourself. Highly, highly recommended, especially in the wintertime. It actually does look magical. I really enjoy it. It's pretty cool. It is very cool. All right, this is our main river here that we are looking for. So just beyond that, you should see the beacon. And of course, you can start to see the VASI lights on the right-hand side of the runway. So we're going to start bringing her in. Let's pull our power back a little bit here. We can still trim though, right? Yeah, it looks like we can. It's just nothing showing up on the gauges at all. Wow, that's absolutely wild. All right, so we're going to continue heading this way. I know there's a bridge somewhere on that side of the river. Normally, with it being me, I would fly under the bridge, and I don't know, maybe I'll put that in the closing credits or something like that, just to show you that I actually did fly under the bridge. But this time around, nah, we're going to play it by the book, so that means we need to get this aircraft down safely, and we need to haul it off to maintenance so they can figure out what exactly went wrong. And for SimWorks Studios, if you're watching this, perhaps you can shed a little bit of light on the subject. I've never had this happen before, and I've been flying this thing for a few weeks now, so don't know, maybe it's user error. Actually, knowing me, yeah, it probably is user error. But whatever the case, we're still going to salvage this. All we need to do is bring her down on deck. At least we know that the wind is blowing out of the north. So that will put us on a pretty good lineup for runway 1 here. And I should probably slow us down a bit and drop some flaps. So let's go ahead and get flaps 1. There we go. Whoa, okay. Well, we aviate first, and then we deal with everything else that's happening. We are a little bit low on glide slope, but we are at 1,000 feet, so we're just going to continue heading on. We'll get a nice straight lineup here. We'll bring her in. All right, so finally we are on glide slope, and you can see the river down there looking absolutely gorgeous. Start pulling the power back a little bit so that way we can descend. We should be properly trimmed for roughly about 80 knots, thereabouts. But we are a little high, so I'm going to need to be a bit more liberal on pulling that throttle back. There we go, 500 feet per minute. We actually want to be around 400 feet per minute, roughly. There is a tree at the end of that runway, though. That may or may not present an issue. Tara, you may want to break out your cell phone and just inform our mechanic that he's got work to do when we land. That would be awesome. All right, so we're bringing her in. And we're going to park her pretty much exactly where we started out. And that will be it for this video. So yeah, definitely not what I expected. But it does not hinder my opinion of both the aircraft as well as the scenery. It is unfortunate that I couldn't show you the other couple of airports that I wanted to. But, you know, the whole premise behind this video has been the show must go on. And because of that, we are doing what we would do in real life if this were to happen to us. All right, there you go. Windsock is looking good. And we'll just bring her in. Power off. A little bit of a flare. And we're down. Cool beans. Let's get some brakes action going here. All right, now the real question is, where is the taxiway? I think we're still on it, so we're okay. Yeah, we're definitely not on grass. We are on the taxiway, so this is good. This is good. And I think I see the center line here, so we're also good there. And those guys are probably like, wait a minute. Didn't we send you guys out of here? What are you doing back here? Sorry, guys. Stuff happens, as they say. One of my favorite parts of Talkeetna Airport is the fact that the word Talkeetna is written on the tarmac right there. I think that is pretty cool. Okay, but let's find a good spot close to the mechanic shop, and we will park there, power down, and call this episode done. So right about here should probably be good. Yeah, where there's traffic cones, there's probably also mechanics working on stuff. All right, so we're going to park way back here. We're also going to turn around a little bit here. All right, right there's good. I'm just going to leave the bird right here. All right, so there you go, folks. Yeah, not exactly the way I intended to do this video, but it is what it is. And let us be grateful that we are on the ground, safe and sound, with no apparent damage to the aircraft. We'll need to figure out what's going on with the electrical system, and we'll deal with that another time. So let's get our fuel pump off. Might as well turn the radios off since they're non-functional anyway. Strobes off, landing lights off. None of those are visible right now either. Instrument light seems to be the only thing that's working. Go figure. All right, and let's get our fuel off. So that is it. Like I said, not the way that I intended for this video to go, but you know what? I'm kind of glad, because that leaves a little bit more to the imagination for you. So just to remind you, this has been a Microsoft Flight Simulator. The aircraft that we've been showing off has been the Zenith. And that is the CH, what is it, 701, 705? I forget now. I forgot my notes, and I'm in VR, so I can't see my notes anyway. But it'll be popping up at the bottom of your screen right there. And to remind you, the scenery that we've been using is all by Emerald Scenery Design. There are several freeware airports that are considered light that you're going to want to pick up if you would like to fly around the Talkeetna area in Alaska. Highly recommend them. As you can see, they've got a lot of charm, and according to my friend that lives here, they look pretty much exactly like the real thing does. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and if you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will be back at some point in time in the near future with some more flight simming goodness. And hopefully next time around, our aircraft will actually survive the entire flight. Alrighty, folks, that's it for me. You all have a great evening, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!